Tired of searching for great talk radio? Something more important. Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Next up, we have Ann Morrison. Ann, you've got some important announcements. We had a 6.1, 6.4 twin earthquakes off the Catalina Island. Literally, I can see Catalina literally when it's a clear day right out of my patio doors in my studio here in North County, San Diego. So it's literally only 14 miles off the coast here. That's a pretty big quake, and it did wake me up for a few minutes at around 2:30 this morning, 2:35. Those are big quakes. And that's near the San Jacinto upthrust zone, which, by the way, is damn close to the San Onofre nuclear reactor 12 miles from here, which luckily is shut down. These crazy idiots better now damn well start it up again because it's unsafe to start because the technology has been changed. As we talk every week with our nuclear expert, Chris Harris, and there's other things going on, and give us an update on this and the other issues, including, by the way, we're going to post up a link to these little UV cards that you discovered are available. They're really inexpensive. You need to buy 50 of them, but they're only 60 cents a piece, and they're reusable. They'll measure and tell you if you're getting UV toxicity outside by changing color.
Yeah, that UV issue is very important. The solar scientists are extremely concerned that the UV is getting down to ground level. Normally it would be caught by the ozone layer in the stratosphere, but the ozone layer has been depleted, especially over Greenland, and that was the result of a HARP experiment that the military and NASA did.
And by the way, it can happen in the wintertime, so even if you're not allowed in latitude and you're in midday sun, you can get fried or get damage to your eyes and your retina and your skin, and it doesn't just cause skin cancer or other changes or suntan or burns. It can cause immune suppression, which can cause deeper organ problems in your body. So we have two new bands of light, and we talked about this with Stan Deo a few weeks ago, that have shown up since 1992, that are high-energy ultraviolet C and D that were never present before, that are now present. And if there's a major coronal mass ejection, the first thing that's going to hit the Earth is ultraviolet light before you get the proton storm or even the shock wave that's going to cause superquakes and volcanoes to go off.
Well, that's right. It takes about 7 seconds. It's not the coronal mass ejection, it's the flare. Now,
right, the flare itself will actually cause a light flare that happens before the CME, and the massive trillions of tons of these particles hit the Earth. Long before that, which can take several days, the UV effect hits really quickly.
Yeah, and you have to think not only of the intensity of the flare. The last few flares that have been detrimental have been like a C9 or an M1. The scale goes from B, C, M, X1, and X2. So you can tell they're relatively low in intensity, but they were, the last one was a 3.5-hour event.
How long do you think it takes for the sun, for ultraviolet light burst from the sun from a flare to hit the Earth? How many minutes?
7 seconds. So there is no warning. There's no way you're going to get any warning.
Yeah.
And what you can do is you can carry one of these UV detector cards, and they are reusable. And before you go out in the sun, check the sun to see what the level is. And if
remember now, the sun, the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. If you actually work it out, it works out to 8.5 minutes from the actual surface of the sun to hit the Earth. 8.5 minutes. But it takes an average of 2.5 days for the proton storm or the plasma to strike the Earth. So you get 2 or 3 days advance notice if you get a surge in ultraviolet light after it's hit the Earth within 8.5 minutes.
Well, okay, 8.5 minutes.
Yeah.
In any case, they are not set up to set out an alarm or an alert in that short a time, and not only that, they're not interested in doing it.
I wonder why that is. I'll bet you get some really good ideas on that.
Well, that's one way to weed out the population.
You mean Agenda 21, get rid of the weeds, i.e. the zombies, as they talk about the World War Z. In other words, they've already been training Homeland Security to consider us as the zombies, so they put jerseys on us to make us look like people. We're not people. We're now human cyborgs that have been genetically altered by a virus that's fried our frontal lobes. So we're now kind of like, like going around eating other people. So no problem with shooting those guys. They're not people. They're dead. They're, zombies.
The CME will affect the frontal lobe. and you do want to wear a magnetic cap over your head during those times when the CME hits. But you have 2 or 3 days warning for that, and usually they aren't a direct assault on the Earth unless they come from the center of the disk of the sun. But this UV, let's say you get an 8-minute, you're not going to get any kind of warning or alert from the NASA.
Nothing. NASA's not going to tell you. Yeah.
Well,
but you will say, but if your card goes funky, you know you had a massive surge of radiation. And there's a day coming, as it says in the Bible, where the fields will become white. And that whiteness is if you had 45 minutes of a 75% drop in the ozone layer, the crops will immediately go through what's called UV shock syndrome. And the crops will start to shrivel and turn white. The crops will stop growing immediately and stop continuing their growth, like, corn stalks and whatever. And you'll literally see the fields of all the grassy plants turn white. And it's prophesied in the Bible. I mean, you can have some comments about that, Alexander, because I see that day coming when the fields shall turn white.
Well, the last time that the flare went off, we were on the dark side of the Earth. That doesn't mean we were unaffected by it, but we were mostly unaffected by it. And apparently it hit near the Philippines where that typhoon was, and that typhoon intensified as a result of that 3.5-hour UV burst that coated, that gave it energy.
Yeah, it adds energy to the upper ionosphere, because remember, all weather storms are driven by ionospheric energy in the plasma in the upper atmosphere. Amazing.
And the UV was probably responsible for the melting of the ice cap on Greenland. But anyway,
you were the first to pick that up, by the way, Ann, because you picked up the fact that it was UV that melted it, because most people don't realize there's a phase shift in the energy. Ultraviolet light is more effective for melting ice, especially on the surface, than even infrared light. And when it strikes the ice, it's not completely clear and clean. It hits objects inside the ice and converts that ultraviolet to infrared light inside the ice and melts it and causes cracks and lakes to form on the surface. Luckily, it refroze. And of course, underneath the ice shield in the north, we have the permafrost melting. We have the Gakao Range, which is underneath the northern ice sheets in the Arctic. They're melting because of increased underoceanic volcanism, while the Antarctic is getting colder than ever, and we've had very, very cold winters across northern China and Russia, record storms and snow and so on. We're heading into an ice age, and what people don't understand is that the globalists are fully aware and are preparing for something much nastier than just a nuclear war, which they're trying to start. There's no need for a nuclear war. This is ridiculous. Yep. They're doing this because they have an intention to get rid of most of us.
Now they're saying that at least 20% of the rise in the ocean level is due to the water vapor that is transpired by plants and animals. When we breathe out water vapor, and the transpiration from the trees here in the Midwest during the drought shut down. In other words, they could not get water to the leaves. There was that.
Yeah, I want you to say this is a big story that you have here, and tell us about it, because you discovered something very bad and very important. And I'm very much against this hydrofracking with chemicals, but they're also sucking out of the water table and pumping it deep into the earth. Not only putting chemicals that can poison the water table, but also it stops the transpiration of these trees. Tell us about this story, because this is big. It's part of the reason why people travel across the country and they're noticing, like, why do the trees look desperate? Why do the plants look awful? Why are the crops all fading? What's going on here? And, of course, it's in areas where they're hydrofracking.
Yeah, the hydrofracking, what they do is that they withdraw the water from the same aquifer that we use to get our drinking water from. The water goes from the aquifer into the water treatment plant, and then it's distributed. Well, they're withdrawing the same water, but they're withdrawing it in huge amounts. So they're responsible now for the drying out of the topsoil. And what they do is they take it out of the top aquifers, and they mix it with their chemicals, and then they inject it in the deep aquifers.
Right.
Well, that dries out the ground, and so we don't have transpiration. If we don't have transpiration, then we don't have water vapor in the air. If we don't have water vapor in the air, then when the cold front comes through, there's nothing to make the rain with.
You can't wring it out of the rain when there's nothing there. In other words, other clouds, because, So, in other words, another crazy policy. There's lots of easy oil in areas that don't need to go involved with hydrofracking shale. and this is another crazy policy to destroy the environment by the globalists and the controllers.
Providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great Talk Radio starts here.
Welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report. And, yeah, you're not going to hear this kind of information on other shows, on this or any other network. We are squarely against hydrofracking, especially with chemicals. And when you're pulling water out of a depleted water table like the Ogallala water tables, and we know that T. Boone Pickens was playing this game with his so-called windmill generation, which he is saying he's getting out of now. He was just trying to get the land rights over the Ogallala aquifer. The fact is, water rights are where it's at. And the United Nations, by the way, with the Law of the Seas and also with previous treaties that were signed by Bill Clinton and before, they've literally got all the underground mineral and water resources in North America and all of our waterways. Most people don't realize that's the reason why the TSA in Texas couldn't get rid of the TSA in these international airports, because international airports is not U.S. territory. It's UN territory. And people don't understand that those laws don't apply. That's why when I hear the dialectic over whether or not they should have passed this treaty for disabled people, or they wanted the UN treaty for the rights of the child, or the Laws of the Seas treaty, etc., what the hell do we need a treaty for? And we already have our own laws of our land with representatives that represent us. This is craziness, and politicians that try to pretend and stand in their academic or their previous political laurels and tell us it's a good idea, they're lying pieces of human garbage. The same way as when people want to deal with the hydrofracking issue and say it's a matter of national security. No, there's lots of easy oil to get at, coal, etc. You don't need to destroy the environment or the water table or expand the drought by doing stupid things, and this is one of the stupidest, isn't it?
This is. I mean, I can't believe that, until I looked into this, I didn't realize how much water the fracking and the oil companies were using to do that fracking. But they're taking it out of the mouths of babes.
Well, we already know that these water tables, like the Ogallala, are being depleted already. So depleting it more is like, how nuts are you? It's like saying, well, it's okay, we need this blood type from such and such an individual. Let's say they're in prison. So we're going to draw blood from them every week, even though we really shouldn't only draw blood every, say, 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to take them a pint out of them every week. And eventually, after a couple of weeks, they're kind of just holding onto the wall so they don't fall over. The fact is, you keep sucking the blood out of the nation, out of the water table. You can't grow crops. You get a drought. Then you start having dust storms like the 1930s dust storms across America. Most people don't remember the dust storms. I have grandparents that told me all about it. They lived up in North Dakota. This was scary stuff when these things happened back then, back in the 1930s.
Well, that's nothing like what's happening in Arizona right now. They're having dust storms that completely blank out the sky.
Well, that's like in Saudi Arabia, where you get these giant dust storms and it becomes literally hell on earth when these things happen.
Well, Arizona, the people that drill wells now go down to 2,100 feet, and essentially they've turned Arizona into a desert because they moved in. The companies that were water intensive were moved out of California, and they went to Arizona, and Arizona said, "Oh, good."
Yeah, because they have different tax laws. Well, even more do we need things like NWAPA, North American Water and Power. Even more do we need a geoengineering project to literally preserve the environment, to recharge these aquifers. But we sure as hell don't need to be putting hydrofracking chemicals and withdrawing from the water table that'll destroy not only our ability to crops. We already have stupid policy like growing land for corn. I mean, that's beyond belief.
The USDA is encouraging the farmers to drill deeper wells. This is not what should be done. I mean, the USDA is going to turn the Midwest into a desert.
Oh, by design. Yeah. Want to hear an update now from Alexander? I didn't realize we were into our last segment now. Alexander, you've got some important things to tell us because we're heading 1 week away from what I call Mayan Day. It's a day when nothing cataclysmic is going to happen on that day, but it's a midpoint of the transition across the galactic plane. It's a sign when we actually are transitioning to the galactic sign of Ophiuchus, which is between Scorpio and Libra. It is a day in infamy, I call it, because it's a ceremonial day for the global elite that want to start a whole new world order. This is a day they're actually trying to transition to a different world. And the fact that it was Washington's birthday today when this crime happened with this Asperger child who was probably polypharmacied out of his mind. This is very disturbing to have politicians call for the grabbing of all of our guns because they couldn't keep the guns out of the hand of a child that was polypharmacy, toxic, and dangerous, rather than saying that this is time to remove all the guns and we won't have school shootings anymore.
Well, it's part of the operation of the progeny of vipers, Dr. Deagle. We're seeing here asp, as in a snake, Asperger. We're seeing connection of words that are supernatural in nature. I mean, intuitively speaking, just looking at the headlines, we know that there's a Illuminati cult or ritual behind the event. We have 27 victims so far. That's the initial reports. Remember, the initial report is where they do the satanic ritual. Later, they'll just increase the victims or how many people died. But the first headlines, those are the ones, the hard-hitting headlines. 27 victims, that's 999.
By the way, it was Washington's death day, not his birthday. It was the day he died.
Yeah, the day, and it's the death of Washington in the year 99 of 1799. Right.
And by the way, I'm guaranteeing you, like walking the plank in a pirate ship, we're going to walk over the fiscal cliff. It's not going to get solved before the end of the year. And even if it does get solved, the answer will be so noxious, they will do fiscal, what I call austerity fascism, combined with taxing to death the middle class. And I believe Lindsey Williams is correct that we're probably going to have a 4% devaluation in the currency per month compounded, which means by this time next year, the currency will be worth about 35% less than it does this year. That means if you're not out of paper into gold and silver and things that cannot be devaluated, if you don't have an alternate source of income and start to go, I call black op, in other words, go into alternative economy with bartering, and I'm working on trying to get some software going through Nutrimedical that we will set up a separate, if you want to call it sub-company, that allow electronic encrypted bartering units that allow people to barter anything you can imagine from goods and services, because we got to get away from this crazy financial system. We need a third Bank of America, we need state banks, and we need to have real credit so business will grow, and we need to have the states not secede, but reform the republic. And the way that needs to happen is a few steps before what Alex wants to do, Alex Jones, is you have to have state banks and a third bank of the United States to get off the federal teat. And we have to disconnect from the globalists that have taken over our federal government. Because Obama is a globalist, communist shill for the Rothschild banks, and he's destroying us.
Well, I know what you could do. You could start doing is printing your own money regionally wise, succeeding from the nation, I mean economically speaking, and start printing your own money like California.
Well, you don't have to have a state bank. Some people want different state banks. What I think is the states should reform a U.S. Treasury, and then say we're forming a new treasury, we're going to have state banks that will have credit, and just like in the we're going to control it so that they will have enough credit based on the actual assets of the state's land property and intellectual property. They can start generating credit and actually get business going again. What's happening is a lot of our money, most people don't realize that 40% of the actual economic activity of America goes back to the globalist bankers. 40%. And about another 40% goes to this bloated government that now owns 80% of the stock market, the derivatives, and commodities. Only a tiny portion of your money you generate goes back to the businesses and the middle class. And I believe Lindsay is correct. They want to wipe out the middle class. They want the zombie apocalypse, but they can only do it if they starve us out, destroy our farmland in the Midwest, and destroy our abilities, so it doesn't matter. Eventually they'll have us exchange our guns for bread.
Well, you know what? I see things, the new normal is that thing you're talking about. It's a psychotic state of awareness in society. People are just getting accustomed to the mass killing, but it's not normal.
No, it's not normal. See, human beings are usually, remember now, we're made in the image of the Creator God. We naturally, by our very nature, care about nature and about each other. We naturally are concerned about our ancestors in the past and the future generations. We don't have a kind of a selfish, me first, I don't care what we do to destroy the land or the water or whatever. The native peoples even had it ingrained in them. They're trying to literally take away the nature of what we are as in humanity. And also, of course, what Jesus taught was, though you do to the least of my brothers, you've done it to me. He's not just talking about other human beings. He's talking about the world. One of my favorite scriptures is the one in Revelation says, and Revelation, I believe it's 11:18, it says, "And I shall come to destroy those that destroy the earth." The destroyers of the earth are these politicians and bankers to cut down the forests and pay them to do so, that allow hydrofracking and allow them to destroy the great whales and kill 10,000 dead zones in the oceans that kill the benthic layer. That day of destruction is coming, and so that's why next Friday I am declaring today it's the end of lineal time, the time when we have to start acting like the Creator God is omniscient, omnipotent, and we are His co-creators. We have to take back control of this planet. It's going down.
Amen. Couldn't agree more,
Going
Dr.
down.
Bill. This is the Liberty
It's going
Man.
down fast. By next year, the zombie apocalypse will be full throttle ahead.
Check my analysis at alexanderbachman.com.
Yeah, amazing analysis of this. Again, the shooting, 27 dead, 18 children, 999-666, the Washington's death anniversary. It's ceremonial for sure.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN.
And I believe I may have caught up, but it's always temporary.
Poor Bill. Keep giving you more and more and more every day, and they keep coming in your mail. Well, hello, everybody. Wonderful to be here on this December the 14th. We have how many days to Christmas?
We only have 11.
Oh, my goodness.
And only 7 days to next Friday, Party Day.
What's happening next Friday?
We celebrate the end of lineal time and start the celebration of eternal time.
That's how much I don't even pay attention. See, in December, I didn't even, oh, yeah, I guess we'll be on the air that day, won't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, my gosh, I still feel so foolish. I have to share with everyone that what I did that was so stupid this week. Is that all right with you?
Well, I don't think it was stupid.
Oh, my gosh, it was so stupid. It was incredible. I'm going like, okay, am I losing my mind or what? Like, you talk about it being the end of the world, and I'm thinking, well, you know how everybody's getting prepared and this and that, and all the negativity that everybody's always talking about, not mentioning any names. There's so much going on, right? And it is negative, very, very negative. Well, I was out shopping. Gee, you've never heard that before. And I went by over by the Macy's there. It's called California Pets.
Which are all breeder pets. They're not pet shops.
Yeah,
They're
it's not
bred.
puppy mills or anything.
Yeah.
And I've been watching them. I usually go in just to say hi to all the little puppies and the kittens that are there and everything. You know I do that, right? Every time I'm there, I go in and I say hi, and I sometimes I'll play with one. Anyways, I went in there on Tuesday, and I'm walking, looking at all the, smiling at all the little puppies. And there's one there. Oh, no, you can finish the story, can't you? I don't even have to tell you. I just went, oh, my gosh, she is
And the
so
mistake you made was
sweet.
when you asked the lady in the pet shop to pass the pet to you.
She saw me standing there for the longest time, and she came over to me. She was a smart one. She said, would you like to hold her? And I thought, oh, my goodness, I have Max. We lost Kate 2 years ago to coyotes. I took her right in front of my eyes out here in the yard. So I said yes. Of course I said yes. Just for a little bit, I'll hold her, right? Well, I sat down with her and held her, and I started crying. Good grief. I thought I was tougher than that.
And you thought,
sassier than
and you were
that.
shopping,
Bill?
and you thought, that's the best present I ever gave Bill.
Oh, my God. Because Bill's been asking me since Kate. Go get another puppy for a friend for Max. Go get another puppy. I go, no, I cannot go through the cleanup and the mess and all that stuff. I guess you can figure out the story that.
By the way,
I did. I bought the puppy, but this story gets even crazier because it's a Havanese. I've never heard of Havanese. I guess it's from Cuba, or originally from the Mediterranean, from Spain, and even before that, Greece. And they're so cute. If anyone out there knows what a Havanese is. So,
and also the smartest of these little dogs.
She's a sweetie. Anyways, I'm there, like, oh, I'm all in love and everything, and I go over and I think, okay, I'm going to get this for Bill for Christmas, because that's what he wants, and I've been saying, no, so I'm going to surprise him. And I go up to the checkout. Oh, my gosh. This puppy was $2,000.
Plus.
And I'm standing there like, you've got to be kidding me. Why, there was no price tag on the thing, obviously.
It's like going to a jewelry store that doesn't have.
Pay her off, right?
It's like going to a jewelry store where there's no prices on the jewelry.
I know. Anyway, she's sweet. I just named her Abigail, and I forget what that means in Hebrew. It's like a gift from God. No, that's Matthew, but it means something from God, Bill. You don't remember, do you?
Abba is father.
Abby for short.
It means
Abby.
from the father.
From the father.
Yeah.
So we call her Abby for short.
Yeah.
And she is so
Actually, this
sweet.
morning when I was making my calls to confirming all my guests, I had folded up my shirt because she's 2.5 pounds, and she was asleep in my shirt while I was on my computer. And until my son came in and stole her away.
And that's because I said to Bill, look, I was up with her last night. You can't put all this on me after all. It is your Christmas present, right? I said, I'm exhausted. In the 2 days here, I'm exhausted.
Well, you're just a little hyper.
So everybody's, well, she's crying and whatever. And not to spoil her, but you, so then Bill's, doing his part, and you held her for the whole morning. I'm surprised she's not here with us right now.
No, that's because Chris stole us.
And Max is jealous, and anyways, we'll get on with everybody's questions, but I wanted to share that, and she's a blessing, and she's like something new, and all the things that are going on, and something sweet and innocent and new and adorable and lovable.
That's when
I think I may have gotten her, not so much for you, maybe for myself, so she'd take my mind off of everything that's going on.
I think one of the
me.
things was all the craziness about talk about, the post-election stuff and all the negative stuff about the world and the war in Syria and everything.
Yeah.
What you want to do is you want to think about the season. I know a lot of people get legalistic and say, no, Christmas is pagan and all this stuff. We're not legalistic. We're going through Hanukkah. We honor Hanukkah. We honor the Jewish feast days. We want people to understand, don't be legalistic. God gets around that. He understands that we're ignorant. He understands that we're like the little kid that's trying to clean up the garage, and we don't do a really good job, but our hearts are in it.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Well, after I was crazy throwing my money around like that, and Bill knows I've got a lot of Scottish, and that's not easy for me to do, but once you fall in love, you fall in love. So I decided for all of our listeners out there for Christmas, I'm going to put on that all on remember that I already put last week on the free shipping, well, the 5% off, and that's 5% off even the sale prices. Remember, I'm the person that doesn't change, it says 5% off and then ups the price, to make the difference. No, the exact prices that are there now and are there every day, and of course with the sales, like Bill, you get
you get an extra
off.
One, and you also get 5% off of the sale price and free shipping.
And free shipping, and that will go through, Bill, until January the 2nd.
Wow.
And if I'm going to be throwing her away, boy, I may as well go.
Well, we want to help.
Full force.
Our part of our ministry is to help prepare people so they're their own physician. Look what they're doing with healthcare. I was just in seeing Kelsey's doctor yesterday, Dr. Neff, her holistic doc. And doctors are under a great duress. Now they're going to be under what I call a totalitarian regime trying to tell them how to practice. Medicine is an art based on science. And what we want to do is teach you to become the best expert on your operator's manual of your body, to use natural things, diet, lifestyle, exercise, and that's why we're here to answer your questions.
Well, Bill, I'm not going to mention a name because I think it's a very personal thing for this person, as she lives in Texas. She's lost 100 pounds since she's been on the glycemics.
Wonderful.
100 pounds.
Not surprising.
Over 8 months. Yeah.
That's because it's stabilizing your blood sugar. It's lowering the demand because it keeps her blood sugar even, so she's not getting a surge of insulin.
Wonderful.
When your insulin's lower, you'll make less fatty acids in your liver, less cholesterol, and it's easier for you to maintain weight. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, if you're listening.
Glycemics, wonderful stuff, along with our course, Nutritrala, Dibetaline Max, and the berberstatin.
We'll have more talk about the phytoestrogens and what foods it's in and everything. We should list that up on our website, shouldn't we? I had a request for that, to show people what foods are really high.
I'll make a note of that. Okay? I'll put a phytoestrogen table up under wellness conditions, phytoestrogens. But no, those are highest among.
The best product is the
Xenoestrogen detox and the hormone synergy, those two.
Bill, the next thing here is from Ken from Georgia. Hi, Ken. What are pheromones and what is their effectiveness, and do you have a product?
Pheromones basically are released by plants and animals and human beings. And among humans, it's actually one of the hormones that helps to attract people sexually, etc. In animals, they actually can be repelling. For example, one of the things they genetically engineered in tomatoes is to make them produce the pheromone for scorpions, so that other insects would think the tomato is actually a scorpion.
Wow.
Okay, that's scary stuff. Now, so pheromones can attract the female mouse and the male mouse, attract human beings, and they work to activate different parts of the body, including the brain. And They work through chemical receptors in parts of the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, and they also work through a receptor we call, we're going to talk about this more in the future, called cryptochromes.
And what Ken wants to know, is there a product that I guess releases them?
Yeah, the things that will release pheromones more than ever is indiamese.
Oh.
Indiamese. Indium is the super chaperone for minerals into your body. You also want to take the minerals, which is Vitamineral Max. They're also in life support, and of course topically in Magnus products. But the Vitamineral Max, Indiamese,